Wedding planners update. SATUDAY. The 11th of December 2021. The episode starts with Preeti holding KT when he reaches the end of the bed while sleeping. He wakes up and says it's a dream. She says yes. He says you are coming a lot in my dreams these days. She asks him to wake up. It's not about office. But Arjun. He asks is he fine? She says yes. He says let me sleep. She says if he sits idle, then he can get busy in wrong things. We have to get his admission in college. He asks why. She says for studies. He says we will get admission for him in any college he wants. You don't worry, sleep. She says I have spoken in all the colleges. He isn't getting admission anywhere. That college is also nice. He says you are amazing. You can convince anyone. Arjun's admission is done, right? You are also like a principal. She asks what did you say? Say it again. He says I am not scared. You sound like a principal. You are so disciplined. She smiles. She says if you behave like a naughty, spoilt man, I have to be strict. He says please fix meeting with the principal. We will go. She says I can't go. You go with Nandini, it will be good. He says I won't go with him, I will get the admission somehow. He goes. Nandini comes to Preeti. She says he won't agree, he is upset with me. Preeti says I will convince him. Everyone tries to get admission for Arjun. Madhu says it's mid-term. Neelima asks KT to call the ministry. Preeti says I think Arjun should get admission based on merits, not recommendations. Our Arjun isn't such. He is so sensible. If we see that we are giving him time, then he will also give his best. Neelima says it's not about your son's admission, he should get special treatment. Shivraj says Preeti is saying right, Arjun should get admission on merits. KT goes. Kusum says I will go to market and come. Priyanka shuts the door. Neil comes home in disguise. She gets shocked. She asks what's all this? He says you have stopped teaching me, so I started pest control, I left studies. She asks did you go mad? He says my tutor left me. Why do you care? She says I don't care, go from here. He says don't lie. She says I am much hurt by Kushala's words. I can't live with a tag that I trapped a rich guy. I am trying to go away from you, just go. She cries. He says forget it for now. Look at me, tell me what do you feel? I love you. I am falling in love with you. If you don't feel it, then tell me, I will never come in front of you. He says fine, I will never meet you from now. She stops him and says I love you. He smiles. She hugs him. She says I am so sorry. He says there will be just happiness in our lives, I promise. KT and Preeti are at office. Preeti says Arjun will manage KT's company. KT and Arjun can spend time. Sheena asks doesn't he have college? Preeti says ask KT, he didn't get Arjun's admission done, so he has to work now. KT says I can see you got Sheena in your team. Preeti asks don't you want Arjun to study? KT says yes. I won't get admission on your condition. I will do it, don't worry. Sheena says I will go. KT says next time, choose the team carefully. Sheena says sorry. KT stops Preeti and asks what's going on in your mind. I can read you well. Tell me what's the truth. Why are you trying to bring Nandini close to me? Arjun comes and hugs KT. He says I know you were angry with Nandini. Even then you agreed for my sake. You are the best. I got matching t-shirts for us. KT likes their pic on their t-shirt. Arjun says we will wear it together. Preeti says you both have a photo session today. KT and Arjun agree. Arjun goes on a call. KT says sorry, now I understood, you are doing this to bring Arjun close to me. She says, it's fine. He says you are the best. He hugs her. Her Mangal Sutra gets stuck in his shirt button. She says be careful, it may break. He says I won't let it break. Do pal, plays. He frees it. And goes. Rati and Nandini talk at some cafe. Rati says Preeti will cheat you. She won't leave any rich family. Nandini says I don't think Preeti will cheat. Rati says I know her well. Preeti calls Nandini. Rati hides. Preeti says KT agreed to go with you. Nandini thanks her. She ends call. And says I know Preeti better than you. Juhi comes home. Neelima scolds her for being careless. She asks Juhi to keep the phone. She bought it for Arjun and then gave it to servant Gopal. She says, you can use this phone. Juhi goes. Neelima says Preeti gave bad values to her daughter. Juhi comes back and says I found the market value of this phone. She pays the money for the phone. I heard your words about my mum. She has lived with self-esteem, and gave same values to me. I also like to work by my capability and talents. KT comes to room and gets scared seeing a lizard. Preeti laughs. He says don't make it away. She takes the lizard away. She laughs on him and says you got scared by a small lizard. What will any fan think seeing you like this? He says you complimented me. She says you think it's a compliment. He shouts lizard is on your shoulder. She asks where, remove it. He laughs. Nandini comes. She says sorry to disturb you. Preeti says I have called you. You both have to go and meet the principal for Arjun's admission. Behave like good parents. Nandini says, don't worry for me, I will support him. Preeti asks KT will you support her? She requests KT to promise. KT says Preeti promise. Preeti asks them to mock the interview for Arjun's sake. KT and Nandini mock the interview. KT gets angry about Nandini. Preeti says you can't talk this like. He says I will get admission in other college. Nandini can't get your place. Preeti says I will convince him. She goes after KT and asks will you break Preeti promise? He says I can never break it. I will do this for your sake. She thanks him. Nandini looks on. Preeti takes KT back. She asks KT and Nandini to write down Arjun's likes and dislikes. She asks KT to help Nandini, principal will note down their tuning. She asks them to see each other and talk. KT says I can't do this. Nandini says you are a fine actor, you can do this. He says I have real emotions in heart, I can't act in real life, you do this. Preeti asks him to please agree. He agrees. Nandini thinks Preeti did magic on him. KT and Nandini act. Preeti thinks very soon this drama will be his truth. She claps and says very good, you both have to do this tomorrow. KT says fine, it's done, Nandini. You may leave now, I want to spend time with my wife. Nandini goes. He asks what was the need to do all this. Preeti says it was fine. Nandini gets angry and asks how do they have so much understanding. He runs away from me. She says I think Preeti can try hard, but KT won't leave her. I have to separate them by bringing misunderstandings between them. KT and Arjun have a photoshoot done by Neil. Everyone smiles. Nandini thinks now this will help me in ruining urine. Preeti's bond. Preeti sends Gopal for work. KT asks Gopal to get a towel. Preeti goes to give it. She knocks the door. KT asks Gopal to come in and give the towel. She says I got stuck.